the headlines this evening, will their meeting help mend strained bilateral ties? Vice ministerial officials from Korea and Japan meet in Tokyo for the first time since President Park Geun-hye took office. It's being dubbed the Umbrella Revolution. Despite warnings from authorities, pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong settle in for the long haul on the first day of a national holiday. And a new tech giant is officially out in the market. Kakao aims to be #1 in Korea's internet service industry. These stories and more coming right up on Early Edition at 6.
It's the first day of October here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast live from Seoul. This is Daniel Choy.
And I'm Laah Hyun-kyung. Thank you for joining us today for Early Edition at 6.
Well, the forecast for Korea-Japan relations remains cloudy.
Well, that's according to Korea's top diplomat, who says the sun will shine brightly on bilateral ties again only if Japan acts with sincerity.
Our Hwang Sung-hee starts us off.
The forecast for a summit between President Park Geun-hye and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe this year is cloudy. In an interview with Korean radio station CBS on Wednesday, Foreign Minister Yun Byung-se said a show of Japanese sincerity over historical issues remains a precondition to summit talks. He added that resolving the urgent issue of Japan's wartime sexual enslavement of Korean women would be a good place to start. Yun said measures that can be accepted by the 55 former sex slaves still alive and the international community would be regarded as measures of sincerity. His remarks follow a string of meetings between the two countries this month. Yun held private talks with Japanese ambassador to Korea, KoreaJapan, for the first time, while President Park welcomed former Japanese Prime Minister Yoshiro Mori, who brought a personal letter from Abe. The vice foreign ministers from Korea and Japan met in Tokyo Wednesday for their first strategic dialogue since President Park took office in February of 2013. The frequent diplomatic exchanges raised speculation that the two neighbors were preparing for what would be the first summit between their leaders, with November's APEC summit in Beijing as the likely stage. But President Park remains adamant she will not meet with Abe until he apologizes for Tokyo's wartime atrocities. As the two sides remain wide apart on the comfort women issue, the Korean foreign minister said it will likely be some time before the sun shines again. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Lawmakers in Korea are back in action after months of contentious gridlock over the special ferry bill. Now, today they continue to review bills, but our Ji Myung-gil reports the regular session still has a long way to go.
The National Assembly, after being gridlocked for months over a bill designed to investigate the causes of April's ferry disaster, is back in business. Their first act on Tuesday night after reaching an agreement on the special legislation was to pass 91 bills. Lawmakers from the rival parties returned on Wednesday morning to open sessions of parliamentary standing committees and began reviewing hundreds of pending bills. Over the next month, they will conduct parliamentary audits of government offices, pass series of anti-corruption bills, and finally push through the one piece of legislation that has kept the rival parties at odds since the spring, the Seoul ferry bill. Tuesday's agreement ends the standoff at Parliament, but not the controversy. The representatives for the families of Danon High School students killed in the April ferry tragedy have voiced their strong opposition to the deal reached by the ruling and opposition parties. It's essentially the same agreement made on August 19th, although the rival party floor leaders agreed to add another clause. That clause states that both rival parties will jointly recommend 4 independent council candidates to President Park Geun-hye, who will choose one of them to lead the fact-finding committee in charge of investigating the ferry disaster. The option of allowing the victims' families to participate in the process will be discussed later on. The victims' families have been firm in saying they want more power in the nominating process. While the National Assembly is back at work, the actions of the lawmakers over the coming weeks and their ability to move beyond their differences over recent months will determine whether parliamentary affairs truly are normalized. Kim Young-git, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye says thank you to the nation's soldiers while also reminding them that it's the military's role to contribute to a peaceful reunification of the two Koreas. The comments came during a commemoration ceremony this morning. Our Son Jang-in has more.
South Korea staged a massive ceremony on Wednesday to honor the military on its 66th Armed Forces Day. At the military headquarters in Daejeon, President Park Geun-hye started her speech by describing the current security situation on the Korean peninsula. She said the North had been raising tensions in the region while pursuing the development of its nuclear weapon and missile programs. She then urged Pyongyang to join Seoul's efforts to build trust and lay the groundwork for the potential unification of the divided Korean peninsula.
북한은 핵이 남북관계 발전에 가장 큰 걸림돌임을 직시하고 하루속히 핵을 포기하고 국제사회에 책임 있는 일원이 되어야 합니다.
President Park also said the North's human rights violations should be addressed, an issue she placed emphasis on recently at the UN General Assembly. She added that this must start with South Korea's military, which should lead as a role model of human rights. She also urged the military to look inward, referring to a series of deaths blamed on bullying, harassment, and assaults of junior enlisted soldiers by their seniors in barracks.
이제 우리 군은 과거의 잘못된 관행과 적폐를 바로잡아서 새로운 정의의 강군으로 거듭나야 합니다.
President Park stressed that love and trust of the people is important for making a strong military and promised to do her utmost to improve the welfare of soldiers and their service environment. Son Jang-in, Arirang News.
Staying with the topic of national defense, Washington says a U.S.-designed missile defense system known as the THAAD may be located in South Korea. But that idea conflicts with what Seoul's military has been saying, leaving the two allies at odds. Our Connie Kim reports.
South Korea has repeated that no consultations have taken place between Seoul and Washington over the deployment of a high-altitude missile defense system in the south. The statement from Seoul's defense ministry was in response to comments from U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense Robert Work, who said at a recent forum that there had been discussions on setting up a terminal high-altitude area defense or THAAD system to deter North Korea's missile threats.
We are considering very carefully whether or not to put a THAAD in South Korea. We're doing site surveys. We're working with the government of South Korea now to determine if that is the right thing to do.
The THAAD missile defense system can strike down medium and intermediate range ballistic missiles in midair. Work in his comments underscored that the system, while complicated to set up, would become an important part of regional defense. One THAAD battery was deployed to Guam last year. The senior U.S. official also noted that Washington is well aware of the possible backlash involved in deploying the system in South Korea.
We've emphasized to both China and to Russia that these are not strategic anti-ballistic missiles, that they essentially they're essentially designed to address regional threats.
Washington has been considering stationing the U.S. anti-missile defense shield since 2011. The idea of a deployment has some worried in Seoul that it could be an attempt from Washington to get other Asian allies to join its missile defense system. The two countries are expected to hold consultations over stationing the U.S.-designed defense system at the upcoming Security Consultative Meeting in Washington this month. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Moving on to other parts of our world, today is China's National Day, and on this national holiday, protest leaders in Hong Kong say they're expecting a record number of supporters to join in the ongoing pro-democracy movement. Both the government and activists brace for a showdown. Our Kim Min-ji has the details.
Pro-democracy demonstrations are expected to swell in size on Wednesday with the start of the National Day, which marks the founding of Communist China in 1949. Tens of thousands of people braved heavy rain and thunder overnight to continue what has been dubbed the Umbrella Revolution, an act of civil disobedience that authorities have called illegal. Hong Kong's chief executive rejected calls by student leaders to address the crowd, which he said must be immediately dismantled.
The central government won't be swayed by illegal activities. This illegal protest will not force the central government to go back on its decision on August 31st.
The Hong Kong government attended a ceremony marking the National Day on Wednesday as thousands of protesters shouted for democracy. Demonstrators are demanding two things. They want Leung to step down as chief executive, and they want universal suffrage in Hong Kong's 2017 elections, with Beijing abandoning plans to vet candidates for the post of chief executive. If their demands aren't met, they are considering expanding their occupation of city streets.
If a country does things that are right and its people are convinced, naturally people will come out and celebrate with it on the country's birthday. But now this is not the case. Even though it's National Day, many people are standing up and telling this government, we are not satisfied with you.
Some have voiced concerns that the protest could become a second Tiananmen massacre.
Beijing has a final say in everything in Hong Kong, and Beijing has a record of crackdown on peaceful demonstration with violence. So given China's record, we have no trust at all. And I think the worst thing that would happen is a second Tiananmen massacre.
The large-scale demonstrations which began over the weekend are the worst since China resumed control of Hong Kong from Britain in 1997. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
It's time to check out the latest actions at the 2014 Incheon Asian Games. And for that, we go live to our Song Ji-sun, of course, at the News Center.
Ji-sun, I thought we had enough of girl power with fencing and archery, but apparently it's not over. A number of female athletes have been making history this Wednesday.
That is correct for Team Korea, and we've had to wait 44 good years to see a Korean woman win any type of medal in diving at the Asian Games, but it happened earlier today. It was Kim Na-mi who earned a combined 269.85 points to land the bronze in women's 1-meter springboard event just a few hours ago. The ever-dominant diving stronghold China has swept all the golds in the 6 events held so far, including this one. And over on the ring, Park Jin-ah won a silver in the women's lightweight class, losing to China's In Jun-hwa in a 0-2 decision, but it was still a valuable first silver at the ASIAD for the host country. Women's boxing was first introduced at the 2010 Hwangzhou Asian Games.
Well, the pressure is all on Son Yeon-jae right now. She has been enjoying the limelight more so for her looks and, I guess, marketing gimmick by her agency side more than her accomplishments in the sporting event that she is involved in. So we are curious to see if we can expect Son Yeon-jae to deliver on her promise of a gold.
Well, the game has started for half of the other rhythmic gymnasts, but Son Yeon-jae will soon start her performance for the individual all-around preliminary, which is also the team final. After the first subdivision round, China's Dongsen Yue is in the lead with 52.883 points. Uzbekistan, however, is in the lead for the team event after adding up the individual score, with 3 of their athletes following Dong closely behind for the individual all-around preliminary. But the fight for the gold is projected to be between Son and Tong. Son has won the individual bronze 4 years ago at Guangzhou, and just a few days ago, Son finished the World Championships in 4th place, and Tong was right behind in 5th.
So that's going to be one fierce competition right there. But other than Son Yeon-jae's performance, what are some of the events to look out for tonight?
Well, I told you earlier that some of the most exciting events for the Asian Games are set for these last days, and one event you should definitely catch is the men's 200-meter final and the women's event as well. Along with these track and field events, watch to see if South Korea can secure the bronze in women's football, while the North will shoot for the gold against longtime rival Japan. And moving on later in the evening, Korean athletes has failed to earn a gold in Taekwondo on their first day of competition on Tuesday, but they will definitely try again today in 4 different weight categories, with the knockout stages well underway throughout this afternoon.
Well, thank you so much for that coverage today, Ji-sun. We look forward to having more interesting updates tomorrow.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online. Connecting you with experts on the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best. With Laah Hyun-kyung and Daniel Choy.
Arirang News. Arirang News.
On Early Edition at 6.
A new tech giant in Korea's internet service industry has officially been created. Now, with today's launch, what will now be called Daum Kakao will zero in on Naver, the #1 market player. Our Hwang Sung-hee has this story.
It's official. Daum Kakao, born through the merger of Korea's second-largest internet portal operator, Daum, and the country's biggest messaging application firm, KakaoTalk, launched business on Wednesday. The new tech giant aims to become a mobile life platform leader based on Kakao's 37 million users and Daum's contents.
Our key business strategy is connecting people to people, people and information, online and offline businesses, and people and objects.
Daum and Kakao have been preparing to launch a united entity since May this year when they announced their merger. Kakao has been diversifying its business portfolio, introducing services like Bank Wallet Kakao, a mobile platform that provides small-sum financial transactions and mobile payments. Daum has been focusing on its role as a search engine, launching specialized services for better search results. The merger will create the biggest company on the country's tech-heavy KOSDAQ once it's listed in mid-October, with the entity's market cap expected to reach 10 trillion won, or roughly $9.5 billion. But analysts say the listing on the KOSDAQ marks only the beginning.
Right after Daum Kakao is listed on the country's secondary bourse, investors will ask the company to shift toward the main bourse. KOSDAQ is an entry market for newcomers, not for already huge companies like Daum Kakao.
The merger points to a shift in Korea's internet portal dynamics, currently led by the country's top portal operator, Naver, which takes up 80% of the domestic market share. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Korea has posted a trade surplus for the 32nd consecutive month in September, with export rebounding from a contraction in August. The Trade Ministry says the country's outbound shipments came to nearly $48 billion last month, up about 7% from a year earlier. The rise in exports are attributed to strong performance of the main export items, such as steel, computers, and machinery. Another notable factor is that exports to China went up for the first time in 5 months. Imports recording an 8% jump to roughly $44 billion led to a trade surplus of roughly $3.4 billion. And more numbers, roughly 500 million Chinese people are expected to travel in and out of the nation during their Golden Week, the National Day holiday, which starts today. Our Kwon So-won tells us what Chinese visitors will be up to and what needs to be done to continue the boom.
Flights are overbooked and hotels fully reserved by the many Chinese tourists who have chosen to enjoy their National Day holiday this year in Korea. Around 160,000 Chinese are expected to visit the country during the Golden Week from October 1st to the 7th, around 35% more compared to the same period last year. Their favorite activity here is clearly shopping, as the statistics prove.
I especially buy a lot of makeup. It's cheaper, and using it makes my skin look very natural.
Korea is meeting the demands of China when it comes to shopping, as Chinese tourists now shop much more in Korea than in Japan. But what's important is that other tourist attractions have to catch up. There needs to be more development in cultural experiences for tourists.
Just in time with the holiday and the Incheon Asian Games, Incheon's Chinatown aims to shift the attention of Chinese tourists away from shopping malls toward other attractions. The Incheon China Culture and Tourism Festival opens this week under the theme of Korea-China Cultural Exchange, attempting to attract visitors with traditional performances and discounts for events, shops, and restaurants.
Chinatown may seem like an unlikely destination for Chinese tourists, but they are interested in seeing how their people live in Korea. So we're working with travel agencies to attract visitors with special programs, along with the Asian Games.
And with nearly 900 Chinese athletes to cheer for, this year's holiday is expected to be even more special for the tourists, while also spreading Korean culture through a variety of events taking place outside stadiums in Incheon. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Well, English literature majors should be aware that this year is the 450th anniversary of William Shakespeare's birth.
To mark the occasion, a special adaptation of Romeo and Juliet will hit the stage here in Korea.
And our Park Ji-won gives us a sneak peek.
The Korea National Opera presents the most famous love story of all time, Romeo and Juliet. French composer Charles Gounod wrote the opera version of this tragic yet beautiful story of love, fate, and death. It took him 28 years to complete and premiered in 1867. To mark the 450th anniversary of Shakespeare's birth, the 5-act opera version of his play will take the stage, featuring an international cast along with Australian opera director Elijah Mushinsky, stage designer Richard Hudson, and conductor Julian Kovachev.
Italy, I feel Verona as my home city. I'm so happy to share these wonderful feelings with a Korean public, with a Korean National Opera, all musicians, because it's difficult to put out all these feelings what the composer put, and it is a special color, which is French.
World-renowned Italian tenor Francesco De Muro, Russian soprano Irina Lungu, and Korean opera singers are preparing to put on an intense and emotional performance. The opera will be staged for 4 days from this Thursday to Sunday and will run again during the Daegu International Opera Festival next week. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Time now to get an update on the weather with Kim Bo-kyung standing by at the Weather Center.
So, Bo-kyung, you say tomorrow is shaping up to be a cloudy and rainy day.
That's right, and that should cool things down even more. But as for now, we're enjoying breezy and partly cloudy autumn conditions in most regions, while some areas down south are getting light showers from time to time. On Thursday, you can expect drizzly conditions nationwide, including Seoul, so an umbrella will come in handy. Otherwise, brisk and chilly morning air is forecast for the rest of the week, leading to a big gap in temperatures from day to night. Now, this Friday is Korea's National Foundation Day, and showers are in store on the eastern coast of Gangwon Province, while sunny and clear weather is forecast for other regions, nice for outdoor activities. Over in Incheon, where the Asian Games are taking place, daytime highs will hit 24 degrees, nice for outdoor matches. On to tomorrow's readings. Seoul hits 22, Daegu 23, Gwangju and Busan 25. On to other places. Jeju makes it to 24, Dokdo 21, Mount Kumgang 14. That's your weather for Korea, and we leave you with the international weather.
And we've come to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. To our viewers in different time zones, have a wonderful day. This has been Daniel Choy.
And I'm Laah Hyun-kyung, wishing our viewers in Korea a great rest of the evening. Daniel and I will be back same time tomorrow. Until then, bye-bye.